Tracking the heat wave forecast, I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. This is going to be not only intense heat during the day, but also the duration. It's now extending into early next week and beyond, where we look at the 10-day forecast where the 100s not going away anytime soon. This is a seriously strong high pressure ridge sinking warming air as it pretty much takes over the entire West Coast, extending all the way into parts of the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be really tough to break this one down, and the current forecast is not really showing much of the 100s going away. Some of the top weather headlines with our weather impacts are going to be those highs between 105 and 112. It's a combination of heat and fire with north winds, low relative humidity, at least in the beginning stages of this. Now, this is going to be coming and going, but right now, red flag warning continues for the valley through tomorrow afternoon. But for the coastal valley region, this will extend through early Friday morning. The gusty winds, low humidity, and rapid fire growth, the potential at least into early Friday along the coast. As we take a look at Butte County, we are tracking one fire, Thompson Fire. This is going to be just off to the east of Oroville, where you can see that big plume of smoke coming out. It's been rapidly growing throughout the afternoon and unfortunately putting off some pretty poor air quality around that smoke. We're going to take a look at how that smoke will be moving its way through the valley overnight tonight into early tomorrow, because anytime we see one of those smoke plumes, we obviously turn our attention quickly to how far that's going to push its way in through other areas, not just around the fire lines, but also moving its way through the foothills overnight tonight and then pressing its way into parts of the valley. This is going to be a hazy start to our Wednesday, a warm one as well. Smoke tends to keep those temperatures up just a little bit, doesn't allow for maximum cooling. We've been tracking our energy release component. You can see it's tracking in the direction that it's going to head into the extreme burn potential, especially through the Sacramento Valley. We're going to kind of cap that off. But in terms of all the fuel, it is continuing to dry in the background of all this heat, especially coming off of a very warm June. Fire season comparisons, we've been taking a look at this. 2024 year to date, well above the 5-year average. And we're going to add to this, given that multiple fires have been breaking out for today. This is as of July 1st, when CAL FIRE put out the, not only CAL FIRE, but U.S. Forest Service data. So we're over 130,000 acres burned so far. Usually at this point in the season, we have about 27,000 acres burned. Last significant rain and snow was quite some time ago. That was on May 4th, at least for downtown Sacramento, with over half an inch of rain. For the Central Sierra Snow Lab along I-80 near Donner Pass, we had 26 inches of snow on May 5th, which happened to be the most snow that we saw all season. The key factor here is we got a late start to our rain and snow season, and it lasted into at least early May. But now everything is drying out, so preventing a spark will be critical heading into, again, this long duration heat event. Mowing lawns, not dry grass, and also if you can not mow the lawns during a red flag warning, that's the best precaution. Metal and rocks, if you happen to move that lawnmower over a rock, it could equal a spark, and we've already been tracking some of those sparks that have started some grass fires with people mowing lawns during dry and hot conditions. This is a big time for camping, and a lot of folks are maybe trailing or towing a boat or a camper behind them. Secure those chains. You don't want those dragging on the road, because that too could send a spark flying off to the side of the road. And with that dry grass right to the side of the road, it could spark a new fire. Here's a look at our future wind gusts overnight tonight. Still problematic, especially on the west side of the valley. They will start to die down, at least for the Central Valley locations during the day for tomorrow, but remain intact for much of the Coastal Valley region, at least through Wednesday, Thursday, and into early Friday, at which point we're going to start to back off those winds ever so slightly. But unfortunately, we've already set the stage. So many people trying to light those fireworks. It's going to be extreme heat risk and still looking at some potential for some fire danger in there. Our red flag warning, though, will end at least for the valley during the day tomorrow. Extreme heat risk, though, not only through the holiday weekend, but now into early next week. We've had the major heat risk throughout the valley. We expand that into the extreme zone here, and you can see how much it expands in through not only the valley, but through the foothills. And that's why we have that heat advisory now in place all the way into early next week as well. Our excessive heat warning, we've been tracking this. At one point, it was just going to be through Saturday, and then new weather models came out showing that the duration of this event was going to extend through Sunday. Now it looks like through next Tuesday. With extreme heat risk in play, avoiding outdoor activities between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. is the best way to kind of keep it safe out there. Possible record stretches of not only daily records, but also record stretch of how long these 100s continue. Here's a look at the areas affected by that heat advisory. That's mainly through the foothills and the mother lode, with very warm overnight lows, only dropping to about 80. So keep in mind, we have those afternoon highs in the 100s, and those overnight lows are in the 70s and 80s. Take a look at some of these weather-related fatalities. Hurricanes account for 46, 47 for lightning, 70 for tornadoes, flood 84, and heat 131. This is the 30-year average computed by the National Weather Service. So just keep that in mind, that heat is a major killer for weather-related events. It kind of is an underplayed, I feel like, story that we often talk about on a year-to-year basis, but it's a dangerous weather killer for sure. The longest stretches of heat that we've had for downtown Sacramento, these are the records that we're going to be tracking. The longest stretch of 100-plus degree heat, 11 days. That was set back in 2006, starting on July 16th, lasting through July 26th. The longest stretch of 105-degree heat, 7 days back in 2013, starting on June 28th, lasting through July 4th. And then the longest stretch of 110-degree heat, 2 days, September 5th, 2022 through September 6th, 2022. In that time, we also hit the all-time record high for downtown Sacramento, topping out at 116. Now, I'm not anticipating that we're going to hit the all-time record high, but the heat stretch, it is very likely. We started it for downtown Sacramento on June 30th. And then you can see we're 3 days and counting, with very likely at least stretching 6 days, but very possibly into next Thursday. Could be a deep one for us, tracking this heat stretch. Highs for today, 105 for Sacramento Executive, 106, by the way, for downtown Sacramento, 104 for Marysville and Oroville. Oroville is just down the hill from where we're tracking that fire in Butte County. 90s and 100s throughout the foothills, 80s up top for the Sierra, 106 for Stockton, Modesto 104, hot spot here, Fairfield 107, and San Francisco 88. Even the Bay Area hitting record highs as well. Our temperature trend, average high is 92 degrees. We're not going to be anywhere close to that for the next several days. We've been on the upward trend, and now with that high pressure ridge building in, we're going to maintain those temperatures and even build on it. When we talk about these long duration events, there's a couple of things that come into play along with the risk of any heat illnesses. We start talking about air quality. Not only are we dealing with the smoke, and we talked about that with that Thompson fire, but also ozone. It's that buildup when we're using all those gas-powered machines that, unfortunately, the sun bakes it, creates the poor air quality. We'll be tracking that. Possible power outages will continue as a safety mechanism for PG&E, especially when we're dealing with these red flag warnings. And then our flex alerts as well. Could see some flex alerts called by the power agencies, just asking people to cut back on their power so we can save the grid from getting overused and shutting down altogether. Waterways, by the way, looking to get some refreshing relief. They are still cold and fast. We've already had to track many drownings throughout the region. A better option, emergency officials are saying, are potentially some reservoirs. They just don't have the flow changes that our rivers have, and they don't have so many also those hazards, be it rocks or trees or limbs that are flowing down just free flow. So just be aware of that. Might be a better option for us. In terms of our air quality for Wednesday, it is in the moderate range throughout the region, but again, we are going to be tracking areas of smoke around that Thompson fire, so we'll be tracking that. My hair keeps blowing because the air conditioner is not so strong in here. As far as the 4th of July forecast, 112 for July 3rd, the record 111. Could be one of the hottest July 4ths on record, with the record for downtown Sacramento at 110. Our forecast high, 109. July 5th, 110, the record 108. So it looks like by Friday we could be hitting those record highs. Our average first day benchmarks. So we started off the year pretty much hitting each benchmark right on the money. First 90-degree day, typically May 2nd. We were a little delayed on that, hit it May 10th. First 95-degree day was right after that on May 11th. So just a little bit ahead of schedule there. But our first 100-degree day, pretty much right on target. Typically, it's June 5th. We hit that on June 4th. Now, when we got to the 105-degree day, we actually hit that on June 22nd. So we were well above that benchmark there. And it looks like our first 110-degree day will also be above our benchmark as well, July 21st. Knowing the signs of heat illness, let's take a look at this just for a moment, because with the holiday, a lot of people outside. Picnics, barbecues, family and friends events, heading out to the rivers or the reservoirs. Need to know some of these signs here. Thirsty, dizzy, nausea, cool, clammy skin, and sweating a lot. That's heat exhaustion. Now, when it takes another step in the wrong direction, headache, red, hot, dry skin, no sweating, that is actually heat stroke. Call 911. You need to get emergency help immediately for that. Too hot to trot. Oh, our poor pets having to deal with this as well, with those air temperatures deep into the 100s. The concrete can get up to 150, 160. 5-second rule. This is a great one. Just put the back of your hand down near the ground. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them. So get those pets out early in the day for those walks and runs. Our camping safety. Again, holiday weekend. Got a lot of folks that are camping. Know the weather forecast. Those overnight lows in the foothills are going to be quite warm. So if you're doing tent camping and don't have access to adequate air conditioning, it's going to be difficult to find relief overnight. Notify family and friends of our plans. Also, planning an evacuation route and shelter. We've already been dealing with some of the smoke throughout the region. And also pack a safety kit and a weather radio. That can be your first point of reference in terms of getting to safety, knowing the evacuation routes and any of those weather hazards that may unfortunately be part of our holiday weekend. Wildfire emergency items, survival needs, maybe a first aid kit, medicine that you may need, food and water for at least 3 days, important documents. So I do these forecasts on the daily here, and especially when we have fire or heat as part of it. I actually purchased a document holder that is fireproof, so a proof of ownership, maybe even personal identification, your passports, also insurance and medical information. Just get those in a fire-resistant safe or a little folder. And again, I just purchased one, and you can put those pieces of paper or your passports, anything that you can't download on a computer. Get those in that fire-resistant pocketbook, and that's an easy-to-go item. And then your go bag, emergency preparedness kit in the car in case of evacuation. And remember, pets, first aid kit, carrier, ID tag, food, leash, medications, medical records, and toys. Also, some of those evacuation centers don't accept pets. There are some, not all of them. Be aware of those, and for livestock. That's another important one. So our big heat stretch is already underway. This high pressure ridge continues to grow, sinking warming air. And again, it just diverts any of that onshore flow away from this region, allowing the very likely warmer conditions to continue into the middle of July. We'll continue to monitor the risk of a high wind event. It will be in that slight risk zone here for the next 8 to 14 days, and obviously dealing with the big heat all throughout the west. Taking a look at those numbers, right around 90 for the Sierra for tomorrow. Morning lows are in the 40s, so it will be nice and crisp and cool for the Tahoe Basin. But once we head down the hill, we call this the thermal belt. It basically, the heat rises and gets stuck in the foothills. So we have this belt of warm air. Nevada City, 79. Forest Hills, 77. Placerville, 79. Auburn, 75. And that's where that heat gets stuck. Afternoon highs quickly climb into the 100s. So it's one of those areas that unfortunately doesn't have a whole lot of relief overnight. Near 80 along the coast, we get into the 90s. Once we're to Vallejo, traveling along I-80, Fairfield 107, Vacaville 110 for the Delta, Rio Vista 112. Napa for wine country 105 tomorrow afternoon. We're in the 110 to 112 range right through the Central Valley. 113, the hot spot there for Calusa, starting off with a morning low of 80. Our regional forecast, there is not much relief here except for those overnight lows for this year. Afternoon highs climb into the 90s. We're deep into the 100s for the foothills with, again, those overnight lows in the 70s to right around 80. For the coast, we'll see 80 for Wednesday, cooling into the 60s on Saturday, but we're going to be hovering right around that 70-degree mark. Weather impact alert day for the next 3 days, but I'm expanding that now into next Tuesday because of our excessive heat warning now being extended into next Tuesday with these temperatures. Oh, pretty tough to deal with. Here's a look at the record highs over the next couple of days as well, right here at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to be flirting with these each day. Friday, it looks like will be a record setter for us, as well as Saturday, possibly Sunday. By Monday and Tuesday, starting to come a little bit below that threshold, but still dangerous heat. And even into the middle and end of next week, we still have 100s on the board. We will keep these in-depth forecasts going, where you can check out the latest on the weather conditions, the dangerous heat, the fire weather that we'll be following. And I invite you to also look at our weather playlist and weather specials, as well as our Emmy award-winning special, The Future of California's Water. That's on ABC 10 Plus. Download it and watch for free on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.